Greta Van Fleet is a business.
Yeah.
You know, you got to generate money. Like, that's the whole thing. I know you guys aren't in it for the fame. I know you're not in it for the money. No. But we have a lot of young bands trying to make it, and they're just taking any gig they can get, and they're trying to do something in this world. Do you have any advice for them from the business side? Like, what makes your name stick? Like, what makes you a brand?
That's a complex question. It's a great question. I think being conscious, present, and very involved, and to be adamant about having control over what is in fact your company, your project, whatever you want to call it, so not doubting yourself. You know, and believing what you're doing, then that's cliche, but it's very, very true.
But it's true.
And so there's that. I mean, I remember from the beginning, we were very, very adamant the whole way through about every piece, you know, and to be educating yourself as the thing goes on, as the company grows, you know, to be very aware and to educate yourself all the way through on all of those things, and you'll learn a lot. We've learned a lot, and there's so much more to learn, you know.
Yeah.
And you make a lot of relationships, good relationships with great people, and know. I think trust your intuition when you're discussing business with people.
Right.
That if your inclination is not to move forward and that's not the right move,
don't do it.
Realize there's other things to consider and don't do it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really important, but most people get starstruck by certain elements of money or fame or recognition that they kind of throw all their stuff out the window, you know, and then they become, 5-10 years down the road, they become something they never wanted to be. Yeah. And that's so sad.
And that's a complex thing, too. If you are creating, as far as if you were a musical group, if you're creating that art, that music, and putting, you're writing it, and you don't have to necessarily write it, as long as, you have artists like, Elvis, for God's sakes, didn't write a song, but it's like, as long as you are making this music on your own terms. Right. That's very important. If all of a sudden you've been plucked up, you see this very strange thing. These people that have been plucked up, they look a certain way. And you get 1,000 writers in a room, and then you get 1,000 stylists, and you put this person together, and then it becomes manufactured. And then they lose their sense of identity. And identity as an artist is very important. So it is sort of being self-aware is the best you can, and having that time to reflect and meditate on a lot of those things. And that's there's integrity in that.
See how smart they are? Do you guys see this? Do you see how smart they are?
Learn that in school.
Marianne, that's for you.
Almost didn't get that one down. Oh my God. Melissa!
It's warm in here. Turn on the fan. Yeah. Butler. Okay.
Where's the butler? The comedy fairies.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, you know what? Speaking of comedy fairies, let's just go there before I forget. So there's this wonderful show out called Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I've watched it, of course, loyally through a couple times. And several people watched it before me and suggested, Melissa, you have to watch this. It's a female comedian in the 50s trying to break into the scene. And she dresses up on stage, which is weird because that wasn't a thing. And I love dressing up. And she's kind of raw, and she says things that girls weren't saying then, and she gets arrested off stage one time talking about childbirth because that was like illegal for women to talk about.
Yeah, I've seen some episodes of the show. Yeah.
So then there's an episode released, and it is her getting her first big break, and her first big break comes from this big famous band, and they are going to let her be the opener. And of course, then people are blowing up my phone, and they're like, Melissa, Greta Van Fleet would be such a good match, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, okay. So of course I sent it to your mom, and just so she knows, And thankfully I didn't have your manager's email yet then. And then, and then 2 weeks later, you're on SNL with her. She's the host. And then I was like, is this a sign? Is this a thing? And then I hear through the grapevine that a ton of your fans keep requesting that I'm the opener when you guys go back out on tour. Now, are those requests getting all the way to the top, or do they get filtered out somewhere?
I think in some way they must, you know. I mean, yeah.
Is this something you've heard? Is this a rumor you've heard?
In the closed rooms where people talk about business?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, that's all I needed to know. I gotta start writing better jokes. The heat is on. Actually, I've talked about this with a couple of my comedy friends that have been in the business for years and years and years. And they're like, Melissa, you don't understand what you're asking for. That's a terrible job. And I'm like, why? What do you mean it's a terrible job? I know them. I adore them. I love their music. They're like, no. No one's there to see you. Everyone's there to see them. Like, it's a terrible audience. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I think it'd be fun.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the crowds that come to see us.
Yeah.
The bands that we've had out, they've loved, and they just accept things and are turned on to art. They're very curious and interested, you know, and about everything. They're actually very intelligent audiences, you know.
They are.
It's really cool.
It says a lot about the people that you guys attract.
They would have an absolute blast with you.
Yeah. I would have a blast with them. Aaron, just so you know.
Yes.
I mean, I know they have all the control, but you got to bring it up. I'm just saying. But no, so I've interviewed a lot of your fans. You're like hardcore fans that go everywhere. Yeah. And the one thing that comes up every single time is that when you go to a Greta Van Fleet concert, you will see young people, old people, white people, black people, Mexican people, like everything, every age, every race, every style, everything. Yeah. How do you guys do that? Like, do you know how much more famous some people could be if they could appeal to a mass like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know you do that?
Well, yeah, we see it in the audience. It is incredible.
I mean, it must be weird when, like, 75-year-old Gertrude throws her bra on the stage. That is probably
Oh, yeah, I know Gertrude. She's not the only one.
Oh, they still make them in tan. Okay, great.
I didn't know they still made these. But, you know, you get the 2 cups. It's a fine science, really.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect. It's great.
No, but it's one of the most rewarding things in my life as an artist to be able to see everybody coming.
That's cool.
Out. Just to see this thing and experience this music and have this that night together, and it's really very special. I suppose it's just we make our music for everybody, and we accept everybody, and we love everybody. It's just sort of this, and so I don't know. Everybody shows up. And it's this wonderful reciprocation that happens. You know, the audience and all of these people, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there and throwing their love energy onto the stage. Yeah. You know, and you feel it, and then they fuel you, and you're able to throw all of that, you know, back, and it's really incredible.
We, as in me and your mom, I just enjoy talking with her when her passion and love for what you guys are doing is so inspiring. And like
I didn't get my voice from my father, that's for sure. You know, the impersonation I did of her earlier, you know, that bit it translated, and then I suppose I evolved or let's call it manifested into something else. But that was it. That's it. Those are where the pipes come from, you know.
Yeah.
And so many other thoughts and ideas that are incorporated through everything that we do.